Well, welcome back to historic rural Retreat, Virginia, the Hotel Orloff. It is 9:30 a.m. New Year's Day. Happy New Year and all that stuff to all of you out there. It's 2024, which promises to be a year which will go down in infamy. Probably, it's probably going to be a terrible year. But I don't know. Maybe it'll be a wonderful year for you and yours. But I'm going to take the Charlie Brown approach and assume that 2024 is going to be a horrible year. So I think it's probably a good time to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, please take care of all of us during this upcoming year and help us to be healthy and weather through the turbulent events that are to come. And amen. I don't know what to tell you, but my hair's wet. I just got out of the shower. It's New Year's Day. I've got to look at creepy magazines. I just found my box of creepy magazines. Charlton 66, a great member of the comic book community, is working in a comic store. They got some boxes of creepy, Erie, and Vampirella. I sent him my list of what I need from Erie. The only one he had was Erie 17, apparently, that I don't have. So I'm going to go through my creepy magazines. I finally found the box, and I know it's the box because it says creepy magazine. Now I was going to get out a pen and a piece of paper to write down what I need, and I thought, well, I don't know. I had a revelation that probably all of you already do. It's like, what if I write down the ones that I need on the actual lid? Because I'll lose that piece of paper inevitably within 48 hours. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Plus, I'm too lazy to go find a piece of paper here. We went to a wonderful restaurant last night. We got there right when it opened at 5, and we spent, I don't know, probably not much compared to what most people spend on New Year's Eve. I think most people spend $200-300 couples on New Year's Eve. We spent, I think it was $90 between the two of us plus tip. I guess that's what it was. But it was wonderful. Filet mignon, the best I've ever tasted in my life, and I'm not kidding. And shrimp, and garlic mashed potatoes, and these wonderful carrots that were done just perfectly. It was a great meal. And my wife ordered a Bloody Mary but didn't really like it. So she handed it to me, and I drank it, and it was good to me. I don't know anything. I'm not sophisticated. So she got a Coke, and she said the Coke was just perfect. And I also had a Mr. Pibb, and that's. And we drank some of this sparkling red grape juice that looks very festive, right? So whoopee, 2024. How do you do these little things, man? Disturbing the dog, but anyway. That is not how our evening looked last night. Perhaps it did for you. I've got some of these, man, but this is not a part of my childhood. This is something I got later on. These kind of noise, I guess they're called noisemakers. This is something from a generation or two before me. Yeah. Hopefully all your future New Year's will look just like this. Anyway, the creepy magazine, James Warren. Oh, I've got a book about the Warren magazines coming to me. Probably, according to the USPS tracking, it's supposed to be here on the 4th. But it's already at the post office distribution center that's the next big city over, which is less than an hour's drive from me. So I don't think it's going to take to the 4th. It'll probably be, it could be tomorrow, but maybe Wednesday, which is good because then I'd have something to show on the Four Color Fossils show on Wednesday night on the Graphic Man channel. And again, type in Graphic Man comic books and you'll find the Four Color Fossils show. If you type in Graphic Man, the AI YouTube filters will give you graphic man run over by truck, graphic man on motorcycle goes off cliff. It'll be all that kind of stuff, which I don't think you want to see, but perhaps you do. Okay, so I don't need a creepy number one because I have it, but it's not in perfect shape. There's a little bit of, you can see some moisture damage here, but I don't think I could afford a creepy number one, and I doubt they have one. I think I'm okay with creepy number one. Yeah, some of these I think came from the same collection. Creepy number two, I could stand it upgrading, but it's Frazetta cover. It's definitely has some water damage, you can see, and it also, the book is kind of wavy, and one of those people that knows how to flatten books could probably fix it. I can never remember the term. Pressing people could probably fix it. Of course, Creepy was the first of the Warren comic magazines. Famous Monsters of Filmland started in '58, and it came out because television was new in the 50s, and Universal released all their horror movies in syndication in 1958 or 57, and called it Shock Theater. And so a local station would buy this package and have all these Universal movies, and usually they'd run them late night on a Saturday night, and they'd get some local person, usually some employee at the station, to dress up like a monster or a ghoul or a vampire woman and host the show. Svengoolie is the most famous current horror host, is what they call them. So when those movies came on television in '57, all the kids of the baby boom generation were seeing the Frankenstein movies and Dracula and Wolfman for the first time. And since everything was in black and white on television, the movies didn't look necessarily that old compared to everything else on television. And anyway, they took off, and there was a huge monster boom that lasted all through the 1960s and into the middle of the 1970s. And there's still people like me that love the monsters. You know, the Aurora model kits came out in the early 60s and all through the 60s. And in the 70s, they had them out in glow-in-the-dark form when I was starting to buy them in the early 70s. And anyway, it was just a huge monster explosion. People say the biggest things in the 1960s were the Beatles, Bond, and Batman, and those were the biggest fads. But you got to also throw in there Frankenstein, because he was really big too. Okay, so these are all from the same collection, you can tell. Creepy number 3, also Frazetta cover, suffers from some water damage too, but it doesn't have any color loss down here. Yeah, there's some waves in it, and it could definitely use a pressing, I guess. But I don't know. This is Captain Strangelife used to show on his channel back in the old days that you can fold the tape over and then pull it down like this. He doesn't use this technique anymore, but that's when I must have bagged this. Now he's using my lights with that you can seal. Wait, I'm missing some issues, aren't I? This is the 5th issue. Okay, so I'm missing 3 and 4. And see, this is the condition. See, it's got waves to it. It's readable. Here are the wonderful ads in the back. I think it could be pressed. I don't know. But anyway, Famous Monsters of Filmland came out from James Warren's publishing company, and all on that wave right after the Shock Theater package was released to local theaters. And Famous Monsters of Filmland became a huge hit, a monster magazine that was on the newsstand, and there are lots of imitations of it. But in '64, I believe it was, James Warren started doing this magazine, Creepy. It was followed by Eerie and Vampirella. And his idea was to basically bring back Tales from the Crypt, or the EC comics that went out of business, that were forced out of publication in late 1954 with the Comics Code coming in. So he got a lot of the original artists that had worked for EC 10 years before. And this is Toth art. I used to pronounce it Toth, but I'm pretty sure it's Toth. T-O-T-H. Wow. All Williamson art, clearly, yeah. All Williamson art. The thing about it that was beautiful, though, these, the stories aren't as clever as EC's stories. They don't have necessarily the twist endings. That's the main thing. Archie Goodwin was writing a lot of the scripts. Anyway, yeah. So I'm missing 3 and 4, and I sure could upgrade if there are, depending on how the books are priced that came in at that store. I could upgrade, I guess. Now you got to know that these Warren books aren't that rare, because they kept lots of these books in the Warren warehouse, and they always had ads in the magazines where you could order back issues. And those back issues, when James Warren had health problems and the company folded in the early 80s, those weren't all thrown out. Those were all absorbed into the comic book fan. Man, I don't like using the word community. It sounds too communist. The fan network. So I remember being at comic conventions like the Dallas Fantasy Fair in the maybe late 80s, early 90s, and seeing stacks of uncirculated, brand new looking early issues of Creepy and Eerie. So where'd that box go? There we go. So where'd my pen go? Man. Come on, man. Oh, here it is. Alright, so I'll put on here Does this even write? What is this? Oh, it's a brand new pen, and it's got apparently you have to knock the tip off. How strange. Is that what's going on? Or is it ruined? Oh, maybe it writes now.
So prepare for the clickbait hit pieces. I'll call it here now. They will do that, but look at all the clowns that push
Donald Trump Jr. on TV. Okay, so I put need 3 and 4. Then I'm going to do this with my Vampirellas. I did it the other day, but I didn't write it down, and so I'm going to do it again. And okay, 5. 6 does not look water damaged at all. In fact, it looks in pretty good shape. 6.
Yeah, Alex Jones' batting average is 10x better than CNN. Not even close. It's not even close.
Oh boy.
Let's see.
This one looks really nice too. This is number 7. The classic monster fighting cover.
It would be fun.
7.
Yeah, we have to put together a just
number 8. This is one I was just thinking I didn't have. 8. Okay, so we got 7 and 8.
here for a couple of weeks. Like, I'm not even joking. I'm actually serious. Not saying permanently.
Okay.
But like,
We're missing 9 and 10
we gotta get the all-star
and
roster.
12. Where,
Say that Don Jr. was.
where did I put the pen?
Remember that? They were always talking about how he was on coke. He was a party animal. He was just sort of this trust fund baby, this rich kid that was just partying and doing cocaine. Can you imagine sitting and
Oh, here we go.
listening to Hunter Biden for that period of time? That 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
9,
And sounding as coherent
10,
and not dishonest
12.
as Don Jr. does.
Here's 11.
I mean, he was funny. He's really
Frazetta would rework old paintings that maybe he wasn't satisfied with. This painting, if I could find the paperback, I'd show it to you, but that would require me
more relatable.
to not be lazy. Ooh, this has some
Who's just a poor senator's son.
kind of problem here.
Just a humble senator's son.
I don't know if that's not really water damage. Maybe it's water damage.
He's the one that's
Okay, so he did this painting for Creepy probably in 1965, and then in 1976 they're putting out a King Kong remake that was terrible. But one of the only good things that came out of that King Kong remake, besides that it had a really great soundtrack by John Barry, is they reissued the original novelization that was written in the 1930s of King Kong, and it came out in paperback, and I bought it at the Skaggs Albertsons near my house, the supermarket, and read it. But there were several versions that came out, and one had a Frazetta cover. And what Frazetta did is he painted over his original painting and repainted the ape and made it Kong. And I think he kind of left the girl alone. He might have touched her up a bit. But a lot of the classic paintings that you know, he retouched over the years. He didn't ruin them. It wasn't like, you know, George Lucas tampering with Star Wars. But anyway, this painting was reused and altered in the 70s for a King Kong paperback novelization. So that's 11. 12 I don't have. Here's 13. That looks like a Gray Morrow cover. It's good, yeah, of course. Gray Morrow wasn't an artist for EC, but he would have definitely been right in with them. Frazetta, of course, worked for EC. Al Williamson, Alex Toth didn't, but they would have hired him, you know, if he was around then or whatever. 11, 12. Okay, that's 13. Okay. All right, here's 14.
Open-minded person or progressive. It seems like there's been a shift in her messaging and her brand that implies to me that she might actually be
Here's 15 with his classic caveman cover, which was reused later, I think, on an issue of Eerie, and then I think there's a new company today called Warrant, W-A-R-R-A-N-T, that does. They do tributes to the old Warren magazines, and they make their magazines look just like the old magazines. They get writers that write like that, and they get artists, and when they can, they get artists that actually worked for Warren, like San Julian. The Spanish artist is still alive, and he's done some covers for them. But they reused this cover too. I don't know if it was on a cover of Vampirus Carmilla. They do a magazine called Shudder that's based on Creepy, and they do one called Vampirus Carmilla that's based on the old Vampirella. And it's far closer to the old Vampirella magazine than this currently published Vampirella comic, where she's like an elf with pointy ears that's put out by Dynamite. 14, 15.
We're going to take your calls in the next segment. Make sure you call 877-789-2539. Again, that's 877-789-2539.
Okay, missing 16 and 17.
InfoWarsStore.com.
Here's 18, which looks like another Gray Morrow cover, clearly.
60% off plus free shipping and double Patriot points. The new year is upon us. It's time to reevaluate your approach to your
Oh, it looks like this one I got relatively recently. That's a sticker that
60% off, and savings don't stop there.
Duncanville Books uses, and so this $10 was probably half price. I probably got this for $5. Okay. There was an amazing event that happened. Probably the only good thing that came out of the pandemic. They closed the comic stores down because they weren't essential. 15. You know, of course, Walmart was considered essential. Target was considered essential. Strip bars were considered essential, but they closed churches. Isn't that weird how the government thinks churches aren't essential, but these strip clubs are? Anyway, they closed the comic stores, so the guys at Duncanville Books, I guess they spent those couple of months that they closed all the stores. I don't know, how long was it? Seemed like it was a couple of months in Dallas. He went through all their back stock and put a lot of stuff out. So when the store finally reopened, I went in there and there were so many 60s monster magazines and Warren books. It was unbelievable, and they were all like $5 each, which is probably, yeah, see, this is marked 318. When did the stupid pandemic that was called, what was it called? Oh, no, it was called 19. So I guess this was done before. Well, but it wasn't out in the store. It was sitting in the, maybe they took stuff that they had priced, but they hadn't put out, and they put it out. Maybe that's what happened. Yeah. Whatever, dude. Let's open it up. So, here's their ad where you can get back issues of Eerie. They were also putting out a magazine called Blazing Combat. I forgot to mention that, which was very much like the EC War books. Most of the comic companies in the 50s made war seem like a lot of fun, and especially that G.I. Joe comic that came out in the early 50s. He was just having a blast. It was like a football game for him, fighting in the Korean War. But the EC War books done by Harvey Kurtzman, he did careful research, made sure everything was accurate, right down to every bit of the uniforms was accurate, and he showed war as it was, that it was not a fun activity, and so Blazing Combat in the mid-60s came out, had a lot of Frazetta covers, and it was done in the style of the EC books, but at that point, in the early days of America's involvement in the Vietnam War, it didn't go over too well. But a few years later, it might have gone over better, although I don't think a lot of the hippies and flower children that were, the college-age people would have been buying a war book. Even if it is a book that shows war as being bad, because oh yeah, and here are the paperbacks coming out at that time, reprinting the original stuff that this is based on. And I forgot, they have reprints of Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, the science fiction, and then this one is the one I don't have. It's called Autumn People by Ray Bradbury, and this one adapts the stories that Ray Bradbury, that were based on Ray Bradbury stories in the old EC comics. Now, on the Christmas show with Horror Mike, not Christmas, it was a Halloween show, we were talking about pre-code horror comics, and he's kind of doesn't really like I don't want to put words in his mouth. He doesn't think the EC comics are as good as the imitators of EC that were even, some of them went even farther, and with the gore and stuff. But they, to me, they weren't as, the art was great, but to me, they weren't as clever in their writing. But so we had a little bit of a friendly argument about that. No, I said EC's the greatest. It's like you're saying I hate the Beatles, but I like all these little high school bands around the U.S. that imitate the Beatles. They're better, and it's like that's the way a lot of record collectors are. It's like Elvis, but Hazel Adkins, Charlie Feathers, Johnny Carroll, these people that the average normie hasn't. It's like I don't want to like the thing that normal people know about because it was the most successful. Like Elvis Presley, everybody knows about Elvis Presley, but I've got my own, Gene Summers, that's the guy. But even though he never really cracked nationally, it's kind of it's just kind of, anyway, we're talking about EC, and somehow I mentioned the Ray Bradbury thing that happened with EC Comics, and I said, well, Ray Bradbury was loved comic books, and EC, the guys at EC, that's a Frankenstein kind of story. They did an adaptation of, well, when they were writing their stories, Feldstein or Feldstein, I've always said it both ways, and Gaines, sometimes they thought they were coming up with stories that were their own, or they were vaguely remembering something they read in a pulp back when they were in their teens, or they were remembering something they heard on an old radio show like The Witch's Tale or Suspense or Inner Sanctum, some of the old horror radio shows of the 30s and 40s. And I should take this tape off. It's like George Harrison was sued because My Sweet Lord was too close to He's So Fine, and the court ruled that yes, he needs to pay, but it wasn't intentional, because sometimes things are just in your subconscious and you think, oh, this is mine, but you really don't realize, no, you heard it somewhere. Anyway, they took this story home to stay, and that's what it was called, and it was based on, I believe, a story that Ray Bradbury wrote called Rocket Man, where this boy and his mother, are always waiting for the father to come back because he's a rocket man. He goes back and forth like a trucker into the stars. He's, and then when he comes back, everything's great. But he spends a lot of time gone away from Earth. And I don't remember if the father or the mother tells the boy, when you see a falling star at night, you wish on it, that your wish will come true. So the end of this EC story that was either in Weird Science or Weird Fantasy, I don't remember, they see a falling star coming down, but it cuts back and forth. The kid's father was actually having trouble with his ship right in the atmosphere, and somehow it's his body falling through the atmosphere on fire, and the kid is wishing, I wish I may, I wish I might, that daddy will be home to stay, and that was the twist ending. And anyway, so Ray Bradbury read the adaptation, thought, this is a great adaptation of my story. The artwork's fantastic. I want to know these guys, except, hey, they didn't pay me. This is clearly my story. So he wrote a really nice letter and said, I loved your adaptation of my story and your latest issue of Weird Fantasy, maybe. He says, but I think the check got lost in the mail, so I'm wondering if you could send me another copy of this check for my story. And they got it and probably went, I'm glad we aren't getting sued. and they sent him a check, and then but also in the letter it said, I would love to continue working with you guys in the future on future adaptations of my story. So he clearly wasn't mad. And then they did. And then they started adapting his stories, and they put big on the cover, adapted by a story by the acclaimed writer Ray Bradbury. And then that paperback is a collection of all the Ray Bradbury illustrated EC stories called Autumn People. Anyway, so I guess I told her and Mike that, and maybe he read something else somewhere, but yesterday on his show he did a live stream for New Year's Eve, and he was talking about, I tuned in, he's talking about, yeah, those EC people ripped off Ray Bradbury and they plagiarized him. And I put a comment in the chat. I said, Ray Bradbury loved EC, and he kind of was going, yeah, right, So, oh well, I don't know how you dislike EC. To me, you gotta love EC. But well. I seem to be getting in a lot of arguments online lately. It's like, oh well, about what truly constitutes good girl art and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. At least I don't get into arguments about CGC, the reholdering scandal, because I don't care about it, because it doesn't affect me. Yeah, it looks like I'm missing 19. Here's 20. Or The World's Martian. Probably a cover that would have been better on Famous Monsters of Filmland, because it's a movie monster. Okay, so 17, 18, 19. I lose my pen every time, man. There it is. And then when I get one, if I ever get any, I'll just cross them off, And this way I can pull out the box. I don't even have to open it to see which ones I'm missing. I'm going to start doing this with I don't know, is this an idea you guys have already thought of? Because I think it's brilliant. You write on the top of the... Brilliant. Of course it's brilliant. I thought of it. You write on the lid what you need. Not what's in the box, what's not in the box. Okay, that's 20. Here's 21. This one was marked $8. I believe the red dot means half price, so I got it for $4 at Duncanville Books. It's got a little bit of color-breaking spine ticky tears. Okay, that was 21, so I'm missing 22 and 23. Here's 24. I'm missing a lot of these, man. I thought I had a better collection. I was buying most of these, when nobody cared. Nobody cared about Warren magazines. I don't think they care even now, because then why was I buying this for $4 just a few years ago?
Appreciate your call, BS Assassin. Thank you for sharing that.
21,
very interesting perspective.
4.
And I appreciate your passion behind it too.
Oh man, then I go to 30. So 25 through 29. I thought I was the only one that cared about these magazines. That's quite a bit that I'm missing, man. 29. But this is a whole lifetime of looking for these magazines, man. Whenever I found them out in comic stores or wherever at conventions, I would get them. I'm missing 31. Here's 32. Man, are we in the 70s by now? Seems like we are. This one was marked $10 when I got it. 30. Okay, so 31. And then 33. Boy, I'm starving. I haven't had a breakfast yet. 31, 33, and it is now about 10:15. Okay, here's 34. Here's the Frazetta anti-smoking ad. 34.
three of the purposes of our government. One of the only three purposes of our government.
Here's 38.
So you're telling me that they're going to fail to do that, and they're trying to do all this other crap?
35, 36, 37 are needed.
Overseas, or push these initiatives for green energy, or whatever miscellaneous random research funding initiative project department they're trying to create.
The magazine changed markedly at a certain point from looking like sort of an EC Comics kind of thing. As the 70s came in, the magazine became a far more European-looking magazine as they got all these artists that would work cheap from Spain or wherever, or the Philippines. And they were great artists, but the magazine changed a lot. There was a lot more cutesy-poo looking, not cutesy-poo, but like basically they would put in softcore kind of stuff into the magazine, which was weird because this was aimed at kids. This is 39. I mean, color average Marvel and DC are aimed at 10 to 12-year-olds. I guess they were aiming more at 14-year-olds, but okay, 38, 39. Oh, here's another copy of 39. So I definitely don't need 39. I need 40. Here's 41. 41, September 1971. 39, 40. Okay.
Perspective, Rob. We'll see if that
40.
Zero in Colorado. Zero. What's on your mind?
From another mother.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I go by zero, but this is 90 in Colorado.
Here's 42. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. They started getting into the... By this point, Vampirella was being published. 42, this is November 1971. Uh-oh, the dog is wanting to be fed. Here's 44. They made this into a color shirt, t-shirt that you could get at the... like a polyester t-shirt that I'm sure was very uncomfortable. I never had one. Some of these designs they sold as t-shirts around 1976, 43. Oh, let's feed the dog.
People have always been this corrupt. The government has accrued power over centuries.
Okay. She is here looking for food. I fed you this morning. Did you not eat it? Or did sometimes the cats get to her food before she can get to it? There's food over there, man. I'll give you some more. And the shrimp we had last night, my wife brought home a little bit of the shrimp last night for the dog. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So it's going to be a great year. Don't listen to me. I'm a negative Nelly. I think it's going to be a terrific year. We're all going to have fun and everything's going to go great. Just got to hope Trump comes back in because if not, we're... Okay, 42, 44, 45. Around this point is when, I saw these on the newsstand. Because May 72, yeah, I would have been just about to leave Heidelberg, Germany at this point. Go back to Virginia. Okay. Wait a second. 45, 44, 45. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. Here's 48. So we need 46, 47. Oh, this is cool. Look at this.
Be deactivated if any victory for humanity is to be accomplished. Once the Great Awakening deactivates the shield, InfoWars.
They've got Admiral Akbar selling Alex Jones's book.
Warriors fly into the superstructure and attempt to knock out the Great Reset. Alex Jones had volunteered.
Yeah, you gotta listen to Alex Jones, man. Just if you have the Rumble, if you have Rumble on, just go to your Roku and get your download Rumble, the Rumble app, and you go to Rumble and you go to live, and you can find the live stream of InfoWars and watch it. They won't let you watch it here on YouTube because YouTube is a communist platform. 48. 2 copies of 48. Here's 49. Except 49 has is that part of the no? It's got one of those things where it was in a pile and then the dust, almost looks like, yeah, that's not supposed to be there. That I guess this is the guy holding his own head. He's like a bodybuilder. Okay, 49. I guess I don't need to upgrade that. 49. Oh, this is a great cover on this one. This is when I was really drooling over these during 2nd grade when we would go to the bookstore and they carried all the Warren magazines. This is the big 50th anniversary special issue. That's from January 73. 49, 50, 51. I remember seeing this one also at that bookstore. My mom didn't let me buy these, though. Here's another 51. 52. Oh, this one is not in a bag and board, so we can look at it. In the back, we've got ads for Erie, Vampirella, Creepy, and yeah. They were selling this Dracula book, which had really bright colors in this European art by I forget who. Hold on. This story has art by Reed Crandall, one of the original EC artists. But then you're also going to have art by very European-looking art. In this case, it's Ramon Torrance. And then, very Vampirella-looking art by, this has got to be Esteban Maroto. I used to pronounce it Esteban Maroto, but then someone told me it's pronounced Esteban, but I think that person's wrong. I don't know. I can ask my wife because she's fluent in Spanish, but I won't remember to ask her that. Okay, so that's 51, 52. Oh, I'm missing 53. Here's 54. This has a really famous Richard Corbin story in it. So I'm missing 53. Dang. At a certain point in the mid-70s, I will stop this because mid-1970s, because after that it's not as big a deal whether I have those issues. Again, I've sealed this the Captain Strangelove away, so I don't have to worry about tape pulls. Just pull it down, and you pull it down like that. I never was able to master it perfectly. This is something when I first discovered comic book shows on YouTube. He was teaching how to do. Okay. Sometimes they would have these color sections in the center that were very beautiful. Imagine if the whole magazine had been color like that. It would have been far better than that heavy metal stuff that came along later. But the best part about heavy metal was Richard Corbin, but he started more he started in the underground, but then he really made his name in these Warren magazines. And this is a really gory, ghastly, and funny story. I mean, it's just kind of horrifying. The name of the story is The Slipped Mickey. And for this reason, I would heavily... Here's this anthropomorphic train coming, and remember it squishes this guy's head. And then there's a TV set that bites this woman's head off. It's worth getting. Issue 54, definitely. And that's from July of '73. I think the same month Vampirella had a similar cover where they didn't really pay an artist. They take panels from inside and color them. It's kind of a... Maybe they were short of cash that month and couldn't afford cover artists. That's 54. 52. Okay, did I write 53 as needed? Yes. Okay, 54. 55. Another cover where they take old covers, and it's beautiful, but you can tell they're not paying for new art. 55. Okay. I'm missing 56 and 57. Here's 58. Look at that Corbin art. 56 and 57. 5. 56, 57.
What we want to do is offer some sort of bonus structure. So, hey, if you're a public defender and you win a case, you get $5,000 or whatever the number is. So that these defenders
Alex Jones starts at 11 in about 30-something minutes, but I don't know if he's going to do a live show on New Year's Day. Hopefully he will.
For a successful public defense with a punishment for a failed prosecution.
58.
So, hey, if you prosecute,
Here's 59 with the Santa Claus cover.
Something, tenable that they can still work and,
Okay, I'm missing some. That's 59. Here's 64. This is a pretty famous cover.
Prosecutors would only pick the best cases. It would increase the efficiency of our judicial system so that cases could be tried
59.
because we have a right to a fair and speedy trial. And if you're
60 through 63.
your lawyer actually has an incentive
That cover I just showed you.
despite the fact that you can't pay them. So
60, 61, 62, 63.
getting the interest
Quite a few. Oh, my wife's calling. I can't answer because I'm recording on my phone. Oh boy, I better go up see and see what she thinks. This is Von Baudet, of Cheech Wizard, drew this, and then I think it was painted. His illustration was painted by Ken Kelly. I could be wrong. Ken Kelly being the guy that painted a lot of Warren covers, but I think a lot of people who grew up in the 70s know the Kiss Love Gun and Destroyer album covers were done by Ken Kelly. And Drew wants my water bottle. She likes to behead them. I would throw water bottles to her when she was a puppy, and she would bite the cap off of them. I'd throw empty water bottles to her. And now whenever she sees a water bottle, she thinks that's her mission in life. That's her job, to behead it, like it's a snake or something. So I'm drinking this water bottle and she wants it. So here's another copy of 64. Okay. I hope I'm not giving you erroneous information, but that's my memory of how that cover painting came into being. 65. That looks like a Ken Kelly painting too. Ken Kelly was like a nephew or Frazetta's wife's nephew or something. Somehow he was related to Frank Frazetta, and Frank Frazetta took him under his wing, and he kind of became a student of Frazetta. And 64, 65, and something like that. You can look it up. I never quite understood this because where's the body? He's like severing someone's head, but there's no body. But it's a great painting. 66. I'm sure there's something I'm missing. 60, 65, 66. I'm missing 67 and 68. Here's 69. The camera's moving because the dog is moving the couch.